Today, Donald Stojack talks with a very interesting person, Terri Rahman.
Yes, Rahman. Thank you.
And I'm learning how to say her last name because I just called Terri. And Terri is kind of like an integrative nutrition health coach. And what I want to do today is we're going to deliver some value just around areas of health, but we're kind of dig it apart in a way of really how do we expose our unique health or coaching modality to the world. Okay, so we're going to kind of look at it. We're going to look at it this way. We're going to turn it on its side and look at it that way. We're going to step back and look at it this way. But first, I'd like Terri to tell us a little bit about herself. And she has 8 pillars that she typically works with her clients on internal gut health and stuff. And I hopefully today we'll get a time just to have her maybe share the top 3 of those so we can walk away with us some better nutrition here and move that. But then we're going to dig it even deeper. Okay. Take it away, Terri.
Sure. All right. Well, Terri Rahman here, family gut health coach right now. Had been a social worker for, over 25 years prior to starting my business a couple of years ago. And the reason I really wanted to do this is because as a social worker, I was seeing people just be really, really sick constantly. That was one of the main things. Okay. And then as I was in my job, my very stressful job, I found myself getting sick too, but I really didn't know I was sick, which was the interesting thing. Okay. And that's kind of why I'm here today, because I want people to realize that sometimes you just got to stop and see the smoke signals, listen, see them, and then put out the fire before it becomes, major. You don't want a fire in your body. So that's me in a nutshell.
And ultimately, we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So maybe if you could really quickly, because we'll just assume we're really ignorant and we're what are, like, say when you're working with a client, what are those top 3 things that just people are missing that maybe it's just so obvious, but it's just like, are we really doing it, or are we doing it correctly, or are we doing it nuanced for who we are and where we're at? What is that?
Yeah. So number 1 is, your water intake. Are you hydrating properly? Of course, are you hydrating properly every day? And then I combine that with food intake too. Your food and your drink are like top key. Are you eating real food, or are you eating prepackaged food mostly? And a lot of foods, with the preservatives and the additives, those are all toxins, right? So your body's not going to like those. And the second thing would be sleep. Okay. That's a huge one. And then physical activity or movement throughout your day. So those are the key, I would say, the top 4. If you just even focus on those, you're going to really be helping yourself.
So far today, I've had 2 cups of coffee, 2 fried eggs, a grapefruit, a glass of orange juice. And after this, I'm going to go to the gym and row for 6,000 meters. Am I on track, or am I missing
it? Depends. It depends a lot.
I love that answer. It depends.
Depends.
Hit me over the head, Terri. Why this is what it comes down to. So here's Donald, right? And I've actually had a health coach. Okay. And so why would anybody need somebody besides themselves to guide them? I know exactly what to do, Terri.
Mm-hmm.
How am I doing?
Okay, so for example, with the eggs, okay, so that's a top allergen a lot of people aren't used to. I had a sensitivity to eggs. I was eating eggs constantly. I had no clue I had a sensitivity to them.
How would I know I have a sensitivity to them? Because it's kind of interesting because, I've got chickens. And so these are nice eggs. But, I'm the only one left in my family eating eggs because I think everybody else has figured out they have a sensitivity. So is that a red flag?
What a red flag?
That everybody else in my house is sensitive to eggs and stopped eating them, and I'm the only one eating the eggs.
Not necessarily, because we're all very bio-individual, right? So your body's going to be different than theirs, right? So what your body can tolerate is going to be different, and it depends on the gut, how healthy your gut is, first of all. So I was eating eggs every day prior to being tested for food sensitivities. when I found out I was, had that food sensitivity to eggs, I was like shocked. I thought eggs were a healthy food. What the heck? I have to stop eating eggs, was my gut reaction. I'm like, no way. That's my breakfast every day. So that's a big eye opener. So when you have your food sensitivities tested, like I had 28 different food sensitivities, for example, had no clue. I thought I could eat anything. Everybody was just like, what? You have food sensitivities? You eat healthy. What can that be from? Well, when you are in a stressful job, your gut lining starts to deteriorate, right? And it apart, and food particles get into the bloodstream, and it creates inflammation type of response in the body. Your immune system is triggered, and it creates inflammation in the body. That's a natural thing. So the body wants to heal itself, right, and get that particle out as soon as possible. But when you constantly put things into the body that it's being triggered all the time, how can the body actually heal? And if you don't know you have a sensitivity to eggs, and you keep eating those eggs, your body's never going to heal.
So as Kevin takes another drink of water, I'm impressed. I need to have a glass of water by me then, you're saying, and maybe pay attention to the sensitivity tests I've actually had done a few times.
Okay.
And
Yeah. That can be one way. Also, it can also be how you're feeling right after you eat. Okay, so how you feel. And a lot of people miss that. They don't think about how they actually feel when they have eaten something. So if you are feeling tired, that could be a sign. If you're chronically tired after meals, if you're bloating, if you're having gas, especially smelly gas, it can be a good sign that you have some tummy troubles. Constipation, diarrhea, brain fog, allergies, chronic anxiety, depressive thoughts. I mean, it just goes on and on. Aches and pains in your body. All these can be signs of an unhealthy gut. Skin irritations, eczema, psoriasis, just the list goes on and on and on. So that's why I decided, you know what? If we just focus on healing the gut, we are going to be extremely better off, right? You're going to be better off, because if you optimize your gut, you're going to maximize your brain, which leads to what in your business? Better decision making, perhaps, right? Better relationships with your customers. Because also when you think of gut health, I want you to think of emotional regulation.
so I'm a busy business person, and I'm on Zoom meetings all day long. It's just
Yeah.
Why would I need somebody like you to help me? Why can't I just do this myself? I mean, I'm smart, and there again, I've educated myself a lot on nutrition. I eat pretty clean.
Okay.
See, I always qualify it. I eat pretty clean, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like I manage my stress okay. I don't see any issues with my sleep. Why a health coach?
A health coach can really help you figure out what you're doing is really optimizing for your health. Okay, so it's going to take a look at not only how you are eating, how are your relationships, how you're doing with your career, how are you doing with your physical activity, and your sleep. That's huge. How are you doing with your supplements? How are you doing with just everyday life with relaxation kinds of things, including those in your day, in your joy, all those things. So why would you need a health coach? Sometimes you don't see, like you said before, you don't know what you don't know. Okay. So a health coach can take a look at you and say, okay, what kind of things are you seeing? Tell me about your sleep. How are you sleeping at night? Are you having these symptoms that I just described? Anything like that? How are you feeling every day? Do you have a lot of energy? Do you have a lot of drive, a lot of get up and go kind of thing? So when we talk about those things, you can then assess whether or not you actually need a health coach. But a health coach is there to kind of help you make those habit changes. Because a lot of
Mm.
times that's the missing link. People know what to do, but they don't actually do what they know.
So I've got a really good wellness doctor. I see a naturopath. I'm regular with a very fine massage therapist,
Okay.
chiropractic care, and all of that. I still need a
Yeah,
health coach.
maybe not. Maybe you don't. Perhaps you do. I think
Hmm.
it's good to assess whether or not where how do you feel? Again, how do you feel? And do you want to optimize your health? Or do you just want to take what they're saying and, you know, do what you are doing? But do you want to up level yourself? Do you want to take yourself to the next level? To really, sometimes there's like testing that can be recommended, like DNA testing and eating for according to your DNA too. So that's an interesting area that's, out there too.
And so I think here's kind of the key, when you are talking with somebody, and I'm trying to make this applicable to all of us. So think about it. You talk to somebody
Yeah.
and they say, I've already got this professional help me.
Yeah.
I do this all the time with businesses that says, well, I've got a marketing agency and I've got a copywriter on staff and like this, and like, why would I need you from the outside helping me with my business growth and stuff like that? I've got it all taken care of. Make sense? Anybody heard that before? Right.
Yeah.
Um, with Carly, I mean, I've already got a OBGYN. I've already got my mother-in-law. You know what I mean? I've got my
Right.
three,
Right.
I've got my three sisters. Why would I need you? Right. And so,
Yeah.
it's true with everything. Chris, as you talk with businesses too, I mean, think about it. They says, I've got this expert, I've got my CFO and all that. Like, what do I need you for? Right. We've
Right.
all heard that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so here's the response. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you're doing all those things. Right? Now, here's where this is true for all of us. And so this is us looking at ourselves, and this is as we're looking and engaging with clients, right? If they have all this, right? If they have an outside marketing agency, if they've got a fractional CFO helping them out, if they've got an on-staff copywriter, they've got a VA running the CRM, they've got a naturopath, they've got a chiropractor, massage therapist, they've got everything. They're clicking it off, bam, bam, bam. I've got a personal trainer when I go to the gym, right?
Mm-hmm.
They really need you. They need you more than ever, because you know why? They need to, just like you said, Terry, this is where you got to point it out. You want to make sure you maximize all of that. So you see, they've got all those things running. And who's running all of those things? Are they trying to run all those things?
Mm-hmm.
If they're a busy person, if they're a motivated person, if they're a person in momentum, they need you to tie it all together.
Mm-hmm.
So the power is just, all of that is good. I'm glad you have an OBGYN. I'm glad you've got your mother-in-law. I'm glad you have three older sisters, right? Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
do you ever find that some of them are giving you conflicting advice, or too much advice, or advice at the wrong time? Or sometimes you go into your room and just put your head down and cry. This is where I come in, right? And if you're talking to that business person, right, the biggest thing is making the right decision as fast as possible, and having that person that kind of tie it all together. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so that key word is the optimization, right? And here's the other thing too. It's like, are you in really good health? So you've determined somebody, so you're a health coach. You've determined that they're in incredible health, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can they stay in good health? Is it possible that they can optimize it even further?
Yeah.
Are they doing really well in business? They got everything running on all cylinders. Excellent. Maybe we can add 2 cylinders then. And rather than a V8, let's do, remember those, what were they, V12s? Like, hey, let's go to 12 cylinders. I mean, let's challenge them to go to the next level, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
It makes
I
sense. You ever,
especially, yeah, especially I love the car analogy too, because I always think of our body as the vehicle that allows us to get where we want to go in life, right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm,
and your gut is like the gas tank, right?
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
and what kind of fuel are you going to put in there to maximize that, right?
yeah.
What kind of fuel are you putting in? It's like for dental, I know you had mentioned about the orange juice thing. I like to go back to that for a
Please,
moment.
thank you. See, and that you see, I love it. So she let me go way off to the side. It's just okay, Dom. I'm going to reel you back in. Let's go back to something you said earlier, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Why
yeah.
do I need a health coach? Yeah,
Yeah, the orange juice thing. Okay, so I just want you to think about the orange juice
I
when
love
you're,
orange juice.
I do too, and I
And I
used
buy
to
the
do that
organic
all the
stuff.
time.
It's cold pressed and squeezed. It's none of
Oh
that
yeah,
crazy
and
concentrate stuff.
got the pulp in there, but it's one of the things you got to be aware of is like how much are you actually drinking of that orange juice because just like a half a cup, like 4 ounces is like the equivalent of one orange, right? One or two oranges actually. I think it's half a cup is 1 or 2 oranges, but you're missing then the fiber and you're just getting the sugar. So you're elevating your sugar, and guess what happens when you elevate your sugar in the blood?
It's like when I eat a maple bar. I love eating a maple bar. It's the feeling of eating it, but afterwards, it's like I want to lay my head down and
Yeah,
Mhm,
exactly. So it's pure sugar, right? And so the
mhm.
body's like, oh my God, you just gave me poor sugar, all the sugar. And now I have to work twice as hard to get the insulin into the bloodstream and stabilize it now. So we're not overly sugared up here. And this is what happens to a lot of people. If they don't have that blood sugar stability, they're up and down and crashing all the day long. And then they're feeling tired and then they don't know why. And they grab some more sugar and then they're up again. Then they grab caffeine. So the blood sugar stability is one of the factors for longevity, right? So the more you can keep your blood sugar fairly low, that means eating foods that aren't going to spike it and get you up and down and up and down, the better you can live and the longer you live. And you'll save your liver because a lot of sugar can lead to like fatty liver disease, for example. And it just creates all these problems. Kids are getting fatty liver disease based on our diet. And I want to talk to you a little bit about too, bread, if you're a bread eater. Yeah, bread, white bread especially, can increase your blood sugar because bread in the body acts like sugar.
You guys
Okay.
have Five Guys where you're at? Have you had a Five Guys hamburger?
Oh yes, I haven't had one, but we do have that here. My husband has had one.
Please tell me that's somewhat good for me.
I wish I could, Donald.
Well, you mentioned the white bread. It's just a white bun on top, white bun on the bottom, and all that stuff in between.
Others, we could go very deep, okay. But first of all, I want you just to think when you're eating at a fast food restaurant, okay, you're going to have conventional food. You're not going to have organic food. And why is that important to be aware of? Because when you are eating conventional food, you're eating exactly what that cow ate. And a lot of times those, cows are eating like corn and things that are sprayed heavily, and it doesn't go away. I mean, it gets into their body, gets into the meat, we eat it, and it disrupts our gut microbiome. So we're not going to feel too great after eating a hamburger and then top that with some sugar, the bread, and there you go. And then you add some french fries to that. Holy cow, you have just damaged your bad gut bugs are going like crazy, and you're going to feel that afterwards. Initially you might feel okay, but a lot of times afterwards, how do you feel after eating that? Do you feel energized? Do you feel sleepy?
Hmm. Feels good. I'm eating it.
At the moment, it probably does because, right, it's activating the part of the brain, the pleasure centers in your brain, right? So the amygdala part of the brain gets activated when you eat something that you really love, right?
Mhm.
And that's where a lot of people function. That's why they can't actually have the prefrontal cortex part of the brain, which is responsible for more of the planning ahead. That gets not as effective when you're eating sugary types of foods. So people are living in the amygdala, constantly stimulating the amygdala. That's really going to mess you up as far as your emotional regulation.
And so part of the key here too, kind of point out, do you notice how Terry's kind of bringing it back to the brain and thinking all the time? So like when you're talking to your target audience, you got to think of what's in their best interest, right? What do they really, really want?
Yeah.
Now, when you're talking to, so we're talking nutrition, okay, and this is true on any subject, because so kind of step back from that. So say if I want to lose weight, so if I'm a busy business person, so maybe I am doing presentations, like I'm sitting here, you wouldn't know if I had a 50-pound gut or a 2-pound gut. Does that make sense? Because I'm sitting down, but I might want to be on stage someplace, right? And I'm
Sure.
kind of thinking, hey, my shape isn't what I want it to be, right? And so
Yeah.
you have to kind of speak to where they see themselves.
Yeah.
But the low-hanging fruit, like when you're talking to a business person,
Hmm.
okay, and like myself as a business coach, I have
Yeah.
often aligned myself with a health coach to work with my clients,
Okay.
or a mindset coach. Does that make sense? Because
Hmm.
you see, I want my clients to succeed,
Right.
and I'm gonna be coaching them on their business, but I'm not a mindset coach. I'm not a relationship coach. I'm not a health coach. Is that making sense? So if you want your clients to succeed, okay, you might not want to be their only coach, or you might want to partner with somebody else who you're comfortable with and confident in to work with you with potential clients. Make sense?
Hmm.
This is really important to know. There again, as I'm working with very top level business leaders, it's crucial that they think very, very clearly. It's crucial that they have longevity, right? Does that make sense? And that's not what I do. That's what Terry does. Do you think Terry and I could work together with clients?
Hmm.
Do you think if Terry needed to approach a business person, it might be helpful for her to have somebody like one of us here alongside her? Do you think she could get further in the marketplace?
Hmm.
Do you think a business woman who is going to have a baby might need some other things, Carly? It makes sense. See how this is working together? So we can't say, I used to think, well, I'm not a relationship coach, so I don't need to know anything about that. I need to know everything about it. It's just right. It's ground zero. Making sense. And so for when you're talking to clients,
Hmm.
right? And we each have our own unique modality. Does that make sense? But they need so much more. And if you're a true fiduciary, right, you need to recognize what else do they need and who else can effectively help them with that. And it could be you have to look at the big picture, that you have to step back in what you're doing with them for a moment where they get this other part of their act together, because that might be overriding everything that you're trying to do with them because they don't have that part of it right.
Yeah. Mhm. And I see one of the other things I see a lot of them struggling with is sleep.
Mm,
It's a big
800-pound gorilla, because I'll just tell you honestly, I don't know how well I sleep or how well I don't sleep because I'm asleep.
And how many hours are you sleeping?
I don't know. Well, well, I kind of do because I've been working on this, but a few years ago, I didn't know I wasn't sleeping, because I thought I'm going to bed and I'm waking up. And so now I got the
Oh,
Fitbit
sure.
on,
Sure.
and I'm getting feedback on that. And I found out, oh gosh, I'm not sleeping as much as I thought I was, right? I thought I
Yeah.
had that. See, I thought I had that part figured out, and I thought that part was on target. And a little bit of a blind spot for Donald, that is actually a big problem for me. And I have been working on it, but I've been getting help, right? Outside of myself, I'm my coach, right? To get that part of my world squared away. And has it made a difference? Yeah. Am I there yet? Nope. Might I rebound and go back to old problems? Could. Do I need ongoing help? You bet.
Sure. So what are the things that you have learned, Donald, that you could share with the group on sleep and how to get your sleep in order?
You know, the one thing that I have been really big on is I go to bed at a very consistent time and wake up at a very consistent time, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It is rare for me not to hit the sack at the exact same time. So I have a very coordinated sleep pattern, right? I don't sleep in on the weekends. I don't stay up later on the weekends. And I make sure that I am hydrated during the day and not so much towards the evening because I'm older, right? Right, Tony?
Yep.
We get older, it's like, it's like,
That's
okay,
good.
right?
That's good. So it prevents you from waking up in the middle of the night
Right.
to use the
Waking up
restroom.
as much, you know what I mean? So maybe a couple times rather than 20 times a night, right? Is a big difference. So it's those basic things. And yeah, and taking the orange juice, as much as I love it, down to a small little glass that's half full, right?
Okay, good.
And that kind of stuff. And Chris, as much as I love maple bars, they are a very rare thing for me now. But they used to not be, right? And I mean, there was a local bakery that had these cinnamon rolls that are just like to die for. And you know, in true fashion, I had to stop going to that bakery. I didn't even go down that street, you know, because that's something my car would always find a parking spot right in front of the bakery. I don't know why. You know what I mean? Oh, look, a parking spot. It must be for me, right? So it is those things, but it does take consistent work, right? And then you've got to recognize with your clients, no matter what you are doing with them or whatever it else, okay, whether it is marketing or systems or mindset or leadership, relationships, where some level of their health and stuff, it is a continual process, okay? And you're looking for that segment of the population that wants to optimize, that is in momentum. Does that make sense? You're not looking for that person that takes 3 violin lessons and then figures the rest out by themselves. You're looking for that person that takes years and years of violin lessons. Eric, can you imagine for somebody to come to you and taking 3 lessons and learning how to play the bass drum and the timpani, and now they think they can manage the back end of the orchestra? Right? Well, what would that look like?
Yeah.
A mess?
A mess.
Right.
A mess.
But right. And so you talk to business. Okay. We talk to business people. Yeah. I read Chet Holmes' book. Yeah. I've got it all figured out. Right. Oh yeah. I went to Tony Robbins UPW. I've got my thing all figured out. Right. No, you don't. No, you don't. Right. Yeah. I got my orange belt. I think I can take it from here to black. Right? It's just like, no, right? Did you see the difference, guys? Is this helping you guys out? It's like, okay, do you see the mindset you got to have for yourself? The mindset you have to have as you approach the marketplace, right? Making sense, right? Are you doing well? I love talking to business people that are doing well. See, you're not looking for the person that's struggling. Have any of you thought your target audience was the person that was struggling?
Yes.
Maricel, light bulb go off?
Yes, I want to ask you because what you just said, I recently had one client who is 80 years old and he's fantastic and he's doing everything. And I felt there's nothing I can do to help him. He's doing already everything that I would advise him to do. And so you just said, find someone who is actually proactive and doing things. And I found that person. Now I'm like, I'm waiting for his epigenetic results, the DNA methylation,
Yeah.
and it's going to come anytime. And I have to prepare because I have my 7 pillars of youth,
Mhm.
and he's fantastic on all of those 7 pillars. So what's next? You know, how can I talk to someone who is already doing all the homework?
So Eric, when you get somebody that comes to you and has mastered every rhythmic pattern, has nuanced everything that they bang on, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, the one piece is, I mean, I'm pretty good at finding something they can't do if that comes up. But, and at the same time, most everybody, I mean, particularly someone in music, and I think in any field of where there's, you can always be getting better. There's another level. There's the next level for that person.
Mm.
It might not be what my next level was, but I find out from them what their next, oh, this is great. Let's say they would like to win a job in an orchestra. Well, that adds now a whole other thing. Let's say they already have a job in the orchestra. They want to move, right? I mean, there's almost always something. And if it's not a move within the field, within music, maybe it's a personal development thing that drumming, percussion playing could lead them to. And I think, and I just had that realization a couple of years ago, actually. As I've moved away from drumming, percussion in some ways, I'm coming back to it. Was it's like, wait a second. No, there's a lot of things here that, people can take to another level because they're worded differently than they are in the business world. Somebody who has the MBA, I've had clients who have MBAs, and I use some music ideas with them, and they're going, wow, I've never heard of that before. And it really, what it is it's similar stuff that they've already heard, but they've never heard it in those words. So
does it make sense, Marisol? So it's like that.
Yes. He said something, well, 2 things. The personal development part, I think that's, yes, I have that edge, and I can help him with mindset, joy, and the keeping of what he's doing, because that's another important thing.
It's staying on track. Is as good as we are, it's staying at that level. Number one, maintaining it, but it's subtle. It's so subtle little things. You're looking for those little hinges that swing big doors, and they're not going to find it by themselves. So it takes somebody outside. Tracy, you're so polite. You guys are so polite with hands. I
want to interrupt. Marisol, too, how did you connect with this client? Did he come to you, or did you seek him out, or how did you connect with him?
I happen to know him from the club playing tennis, but then he found me in Facebook, and then he started texting me, and then he was interested about the test that I'm offering.
So another thing too, with people who are already at a fairly high level, is to ask them. One of my favorite things to ask my clients is, if you wave a magic wand and get what you want out of our time together, what would that be? And ask them, because there's a reason that he came to you, even with as high level as he's functioning. If he felt like, I need no help in this, he would have gone, okay, another health coach, whatever, and moved on. He would not have connected with you on Facebook. He wouldn't have asked you. And so I think we often overlook, ask the person. We do know we have something.
What I perceive that he wants to brag that his biological age is going to be like 20 years younger than he is. And he's like trying to prove that, science is saying that, because he's perfect. He's doing everything. He's teaching me. I mean, it's amazing. So, but yes, I guess what you're saying is find whatever next level pertains to that individual, whatever it is, and then cultivate that, explore more about that.
Yeah. And two, if all he's looking for is validation and proof of how good he is, there's nobody who's perfect in anything. There's always room for growth.
Yeah.
And so, you helping him to find that, if he doesn't think it exists, you helping him to find that is going to be miraculous. Or he's going to go, oh, wait, then I don't want to work with you because you just disproved what I believe about myself. That could go one way or another, but he really is after the health that he is saying that he's after, imagine how miraculous that would feel and seem to him that you could find something he's not doing when he obviously has already done so much work and is doing so much work in that area.
Right. Yeah, thank you. And I wish I could use him as a testimony, but he was like a super busy person until he retired. So everything bad for himself. And then once he retired, he focused on himself, his health and everything. And that was, I don't know, 20 years ago or even more. And now he's like incredible. You see him and you wouldn't say that he's 80 years old. It's amazing. So I wish I could say, this is one of my clients, look what happened. But the thing is, I wasn't with him during the whole process, but I guess I can find that part that he would like to explore and, be with him and be a witness of how he grows into that direction.
Yeah. Excellent work. The other thing too is never make an assumption. So many times, and I had this realization the other day with somebody. You look at somebody, you think that they're at one place, right? Because of what you think you see or where they should be, and you don't realize, oh, they're actually down here, or maybe they're here externally, but internally they're here, or vice versa, right? It's on both levels, and it's really surprising at times. And I've experienced this when I used to teach piano. They come, they had so many years of lessons, I assumed they were here, or they came to me and they were performing this piece of music, and I made a wrong assumption that they were at this level. I didn't realize, oh gosh, it took them 12 years to learn 5 measures, right? It's just like, right, a disconnect, type of thing. So it is imperative for everybody, each of us, to be coached. Each of us, as we approach the marketplace, to realize there's always something missing. And I think the other thing too is for each of us to be as hungry as we are to grab them as a client, also to realize maybe we're not the right fit for them, but maybe we can help them. Does that make sense? And we long term will be better off. But there again, if we've got what they need, let's go and give it to them. Eric.
I call myself now a next step strategist, and very frequently the next step is clear to a person right in front of them, maybe to their right, maybe to their left. Sometimes the next step is actually behind them, but more to the point of what Maricela was speaking about, oftentimes the next step is inside them and they haven't figured out how to get to it. And that's where I can help. And I think all of us do. I mean, in different ways.
Yeah.
It's getting the realization to come from the client. And we often, I think we need to be the ones asking those questions sometimes.
A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Right. And you see that, and Terri, as you're working with somebody, so say somebody's got a naturopath, they've got a good wellness doctor, they got a chiropractor, right? And they've been told all this stuff, right? They've been told all this stuff.
Totally.
Why do they need a coach? Because exactly that, because they've been told this stuff, but they haven't self-actualized this stuff. And if they've been willing to invest in all of those things, are taking premier supplements, are buying the best single ingredient stuff, right? They still need your help. For them, this is where coaching. So see, coaching is not training. Coaching is not necessarily educating or consulting, although we encompass all of that in what we do with people. But ultimately, our magic skill is helping them, right? Buy into it inside. You can tell me to give up maple bars till the cows come home. Until you work with me for me to admit that, yes, that has to go. And this is why, because I want this other thing that's even bigger than that. Oh, that taste of that first bite, even the third bite, even all the way to the bottom, even the second maple bar, right? Does that make sense? I have to realize that the other thing that I want is even better than that, right? The other thing that beyond the pain of the childbirth or the scariness of all of that is that thing on the other side, right? Going all the way through a natural childbirth, right? All of the scariness of whatever that is, and it's really right. What is on the other side? Going through all the process of going granular with their business systems and the pain of maybe having to realize that their exit strategy is really lacking three legs on a three-legged stool, that the pain of all of that is worth it because what is on the other side is so much bigger.
Mhm.
Okay. Working with somebody like you, Terri, to get everything in alignment and optimized and maximized and taking that time, whether it's a week or 10 weeks or 10 years, it makes no difference.
Mhm.
It makes sense. That's the play that's out there.
Mhm.
Okay. Does that help you guys out? Does that make any sense? Is that like light bulbs, a little bit of light bulbs? Hopefully that validates some things you're already doing. Marisol, congratulations. I mean, that's just, that is so cool, you know, and stuff. And collaborate, right? Collaborate. Look for the subtleties, right? Look for the examples. Okay. If somebody's going to be a top tier golfer on the PGA, they've got a coach, no matter who they are. Right. If somebody's going to be a top tier in anything, they've got a coach.
Mhm.
So look for, so here's the key. You ready? Look for top tier people. They already understand coaching.
Mhm. Mhm. Makes sense.
That's your target audience.
That makes a lot of sense.
Look for people that
Actually,
look for people that pay for things. Look for people that have somebody mow their lawn. Look for somebody that has somebody clean their house. Right? On the, so here's a key. I gotta watch. I got 2 minutes. Okay. Where are people at? Right? I engage with that. So I'm on my local private Facebook group for my neighborhood and for my community. And anybody on those, right? I'm looking for people that are looking for people to mow their lawn. I'm looking for people that are looking for people to clean their houses. Does that make sense?
mhm.
Right? Where are your clients at? Paying attention? I'm not looking for the people that are trying to figure out how to find to borrow a wrench to work on their own car. Right? I'm looking for the person that's looking for the mobile mechanic to come to their house because they're too busy to take their car they're willing to pay a premium to find a mobile mechanic to come to their house to work on their car. Making sense,
Mhm.
right? I'm looking for people like me that I've got a horse, right? And this last weekend, I went to a horsing event. I hired a horse transporter to get the horse there and back. Does that make sense? I didn't try to do it myself. I didn't borrow a truck. I didn't borrow a horse trailer. I'm eventually going to buy a pickup truck and that, but I hired a professional horse transporter, paid the fee. Does that make sense? You see who you're looking for? So you're looking for evidence of people that are looking to get things done quicker, faster, easier. That's your target audience. I'm not looking for people that are trying, Carly, to learn piano lessons with a YouTube video, right? I'm looking for people that reach out for somebody to guide them. See the difference?
Mhm.
And it's not bad to do what you're doing. Does that make sense? But do you see the difference? It's like, I'm looking for those people. Do you see the difference? So pay attention to what you're looking for and where they're at. I help you guys out. But Carly, I love that you're learning to play full disclosure, and I just like, you know. So, but if you ever need a remote lesson, it's not me, but I do know people.
I did buy a course, Donald. I'm
I
just
know you did.
learning the songs.
Yep. Yep. And see, you look, that makes sense. You're looking for people that are looking. Don't look for people that are not looking. Yeah. And looking, Terri, keep speaking to maximization, you know,
Okay.
keep speaking to, and you're looking for, you don't be intimidated by somebody that has other help. That's exactly who you're looking for.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
exactly who you're looking for. Okay, my friends? Isn't that kind of cool? Yes. Thank you, Terri. Very much.
Thank you very much.
This was fun.